Horns up, metalheads. Welcome to Radioactive Metal, the interview channel. One of the biggest buzzes in the heavy music underground is the awesome new record from Integrity. Their new album, Howling for the Nightmare Shall Consume, marks the band's Relapse record debut. So of course, Snowy sat down and spoke with the new-ish axeman, Domenic Romeo, to get the scoop on this record. So we're going to sit back, kick back, grab a beer, and listen to Snowy's chat with Mr. Romeo.
First and foremost, the thing that we want to get to right away is that just yesterday, as we speak, the new Integrity album, Howling for the Nightmare Shall Consume record just dropped. You must be excited.
It was super exciting. Yeah, it's we actually have been sitting on the record. We've been working on the record for a super long time. If you combine writing and recording, it's been like 2 years. And we've been sitting on it for quite some time as well, because we turned it into Relapse earlier this year and just had to be patient. And we didn't want to really blow the surprise, so it barely got out to anybody. And we just kept it low key. And yeah, the result was awesome. I couldn't be happier with how excited people were about it. It was awesome.
Right on. Yeah. It's going to be, I think it's going to be like really interesting, because this is probably going to be like with Relapse. This is probably the whatever big is in today's industry, but it's probably going to be like Relapse is the biggest label that you guys have dealt with so far. Or
absolutely. I think it's just perfect timing. It's just a perfect place for Integrity to be at this point in the band's career. It's like Relapse is just me personally, I've only been in Integrity for this record and leading up to it, but in my personal experience with other labels, it's just nothing's ever been as good as Relapse. Relapse is just, even like including my own label, of course, but Relapse is just so professional and like encouraging, and they just left us alone. They pretty much left us alone to make whatever record we wanted, how we wanted. They didn't interfere at all, and we're just super supportive the entire time. So that and the visibility they have is just second to none. It's great. And they're all like, it's not like a situation where you're on a bigger label and you're not talking to somebody. You could call anyone at Relapse at any point, at any time of the day, and they'll talk to you about whatever, even stuff that has nothing to do with the record. If you have a good joke or something, it's pretty cool. But yeah, they're just real dudes. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to do the record with them. Hopefully there'll be others down the road.
Definitely. Yes, they're good friends of ours up here as well. But who approached who with it? Did Relapse come to you just from the past reputation that Integrity has?
The way history plays out, and I've always been an Integrity historian to an extent. Before I was in the band, it's always been my favorite band. I think they tried to get Humanity is the Devil to come out on Relapse, but timing-wise, that just didn't work out, because I loved during the Victory era, just a band like Integrity and even Bloodlet were like so, or Dead Guy, were just so not part of what the rest of the label was known for and what their huge target audience was looking for. It was really like the black sheep, if you will. So, naturally I could see how Integrity was trying to progress to a more extreme label music-wise that just opened more, that were rather took down the boundaries and allowed for more freedom to do whatever they wanted. And this time came around, I've became friendly with Rennie over time, and actually as A389 slowed down, most of our bands ended up going to Relapse, actually. So I just didn't have time to do the label anymore. But when Rennie asked if Integrity would want to do a new record, I just put him in touch with Dwid, and everything just came from there. So yeah, technically Relapse did come to Integrity for this one, and I was kind of unofficial matchmaker, I guess, but it was cool.
You were the middleman. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm always the middleman for something. It's my fate.
Hey, we need hardworking guys like you in this in the scene. Thank you for all you do. You mentioned that you were a fan of Integrity like before joining, obviously.
Oh yeah, for it's been my favorite. Other than Kiss, who's my all-time favorite band, Integrity's been my favorite band since like 1996. It's just been like obsessed. It's just been a obsession of mine. So, just the coolest.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. So how did you hook up with Dwid? Did you just,
It's actually funny.
How did you come about?
Back then it was, the internet was a pretty new thing, and we didn't have the internet, but a buddy of mine who lived across town had the internet. His parents had a very archaic version. It wasn't even AOL at the time. This was before AOL would send those CDs to your house every week, where they try to like sell you on joining the internet. But I would ride my bike, like a good half hour each way. To just, we'd go to the internet, and he would be on the Victory Records at the time. They had a website with this thing that was called a Real Audio Player, which is a super primitive streaming format that sounds like a Nintendo box. It's terrible like quality, but we'd sit there and listen to all these songs because a lot of, like I said, the Victory bands were very popular at the time. And, we did skim through them. We're like, this is cool, but it didn't really jump out at me. And then we heard Systems Overload, and we just flipped out at like how good it was. We're like, this is like big Black Sabbath-y riffs, and the dude sounds like he swallowed glass. It was just insane. And, so the big thing we used to do when we were like teenagers was we'd work during the week at our crappy jobs after school and on weekends, and then we'd head into the city every single week and just blow our entire paychecks on buying records. We did that like clockwork every week for a good, for like our whole youth. That's how we spent our youth. We'd spend the day buying records, then we'd go to a show that night. And one of us stumbled across Systems. So we, on our ride back, I just remember popping it in, and it was just like solos everywhere. It was like the whole theme of Systems follows the format of the title track, where it's like really based around big like glacier riffs, and then there's like like hardcore parts in between, kind of balances it all out. And I loved just that formula. Was so cool, and adding all the solos like everywhere. I compared it to like having a bug infestation, where it's just like one summer when I was a kid, there was an earwig infestation when I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Ontario. I remember this one summer, there's earwigs everywhere. So like, you would open a book and a bunch of earwigs would run out. You lift a paint can, a bunch of earwigs would run out. That's how I felt about Systems. I felt like there was like solos just everywhere you would turn, like more solos would jump out. And I was like, this rules. Because I grew up a metalhead. So I'm like, this is like the perfect band for me. And Humanity's the Devil, this was towards the tail end of Systems. Systems had already been out, and Humanity's the Devil was about to come out, or had just come out. So we were just learning about this stuff. And we bought Humanity. And there was an email address in there, and I was just like ecstatic. So I was like, I have to email this dude. I have to find out what this band is about. This is like blowing my mind right now. And the punishing just began. I would just like ride my bike to my friend's house, send Dwid all these like super annoying messages with like a million questions. I just wanted to know everything. I wanted to know who was in the band, who played what, what other records do they have, what other band, everything. Just straight up punishing the dude. And at first he was kind of a jerk. He's kind of like very dismissive. One word answers, which I get because, no one likes to be tortured. I mean, I'm sure he appreciates the interest, but, an annoying dude is an annoying dude. And I was definitely an annoying dude. But I think eventually I wore him down because just kind of, we became friends. And pretty much he started answering all the stuff I wanted to know. And my band at the time was a band called Day of Mourning, and we recorded at Mars, which was in Cleveland. And we managed to get him to come out and do guest vocals on one of the songs, which was really cool. Yeah, and this was pretty cool for a bunch of, unknown kids from Canada to have him come out and sing was a huge deal. And actually Human Furnace from Ringworm also came out and sang on that record. It was pretty wild. It was pretty fantasy league stuff. But and then just from there we kept in touch off and on. And when was it? I think they started playing out a lot when To Die For came out. I would try to go to every show I could that was within reasonable distance. And we just, started talking in more frequent contact. And I started, actually, during To Die For, one of the guitar players rolled, and I was going to join in his place because I already knew all the songs and we were already friends. I'm like, it wouldn't even take anything. I could just literally show up to the next show and we can just do this. It's fine. I know all the songs. So the whole plan was to go over and I was going to join. And at the time, my father was sick and likely to pass away any day, which he did. And didn't want to leave them in a position where I would have to leave in the middle of a tour to like go tend to stuff. So I was like, the timing was really bad. So ended up not going, and I stayed back and I formed Pulling Teeth and I formed A389 Records. And Dwid helped with A389 a ton. He did most of the layout, the artwork, helped me get a lot of bands as well. You know, who's crucial in getting I Hate God, Integrity, even like, you know, the Integrity Records. He helped me do so much stuff with it. And yeah, you know, I booked an annual Integrity show in Baltimore. That was like the only U.S. show they would play every year. And, you know, I was just always involved in like behind the curtain stuff. And then again, a position opened up on guitar like a decade later when I was supposed to join the first time. And I was just like, the timing is I was kind of nervous because I had 3 kids by that point. Hadn't played guitar in a few years because I was just too busy. You know, I had like 3 really young kids, all like 2 years apart. So I have they're 3, 5, and 7 this year. So they would have been like, you know, like 1, 3, and 5 that year. It was a crazy.
Wow.
So I had my hands full. I wasn't playing guitar, and you know, it's just I slowly got back into it, and everything just kind of came to. I played one show before we totally revamped the lineup to have all dudes that were centralized to where I was, like geographically, that we can practice every week, and yeah, that's how everything kind of came to be. And we started writing the record, and the rest kind of unraveled itself. Sorry, that was kind of a long run-on sentence. I hope.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Great. I laughed, I cried. That was fantastic.
Good.
You mentioned that and when I think of A389 and I think of Integrity and all that, I kind of more think hardcore, perhaps. But you said that you were a metal kid growing up. Okay, and you mentioned Kiss. What were some of the other metal bands that you kind of dug?
See, I was like, you know, as a metalhead kid, I just loved everything. Like, you know, as far as like being like super young, I loved Van Halen and I loved Kiss and I loved anything that would come on this show that was called Toronto Rocks. That was my my avenue into metal. You know, this was like in the early '80s. So I'd watch Ozzy videos and, you know, Kiss, Rat, Twisted Sister, just anything from that pre-hair metal era of like the early '80s. It was more like
right.
Satanic Shock thing, but you know, I fully embraced the hair metal, the era that came after, because some of the best guitar players came from that era. So I love, like, you know, everything that came from that, like Bullet Boys and like all like those like crazy bands that have awesome guitar players, like White Lion, like just anything that has a cool sounding band I like. And it, you know, I was never just limited to metal. I always liked everything. I was always someone, like, I grew up where my mom was always listening to Elvis and my uncle was listening to the Beatles and traditional Italian music. So I was just always around a lot of music. So everything, I just had my hands in everything. I was into industrial, into weird techno, into noise, into rap, into anything that was just cool. Anything that was like I was just so hungry for music, you know, I just wanted to take it all in. But as far as like my metal roots, it was definitely your Ozzy and Van Halen, Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, like that first wave of early '80s metal,
right on.
Then the thrash, everything, death metal. Just, you know, just I like. You'd be seldom to find me listening to the same thing twice. I kind of just bounce around and listen to everything.
That's good, and that's good for a musician as well.
Yeah, I think it helps. I think it shows on the record because it's just like it's not derivative of one specific thing. It's like so many different things creep into the mixture, which I think is pretty neat.
Right on. But I do have to ask, since I'm Canadian too,
oh, nice.
And we seem to be about the same age. I remember those days as well. So with you growing up in Canada, you would remember the old Banzai records then.
Banzai? No, you know, I was my favorite was I really loved Thor. Thor is like my favorite Canadian dude. I'm not familiar with the Banzai record. That might have gone under my radar. But do tell.
Oh no, the label, they.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they put out a whole whack of
stuff. Like
total.
Yeah, I think they did. Didn't they do Venom? A Venom record?
Yeah, Venom. Yep. The first couple Metallica records, the first Slayer albums.
I know what you mean now. I'm sorry. I was like, whoa, there's like some Canadian band that totally went under my radar, but no. Yeah, Banzai Records was awesome, and I remember like having Venom records that were on that label specifically. But yeah, for Canada, it's like, you know, it's so funny talking to other Canadians because just the other day, a buddy of mine was talking about how they're covering Gowan, and I'm just like, I was so stoked.
Oh, right on.
And I'm just like, you know, no one else. My wife's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, you have no idea how cool this is. Not like play her like Criminal Mind or Strange Animal, and she was
Strange Animal, yeah.
Strange Animal rules, right? And she's like, no,
it's a fantastic song.
It's a great song. And I remember me and my sister were kids, and we'd always watch the Criminal Mind video and nerd out because it was like that cool animation. It was just great. Like it was, like that. Canada had some pretty heavy hitters for the time. Definitely. Pile Driver was awesome.
Oh, dude, right on. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, love Pile Driver.
he's still around too.
Yes, actually, it's funny when I think it was my 30th birthday, maybe. No, 30th birthday was in it was like 2010, which I would have been like 33. Like I would do this annual show, like I had mentioned, where Integrity would play a show every year. In the U.S. It was usually around my birthday, which was also usually around the A389 anniversary. So it was like kind of a double header of event. And in 2010, Pulling Teeth learned a whole Thor set, and we flew Thor out, and we played as Thor's Teeth. And there's actually a live album, and I'll have to send you like I can send you the record. I may have one, but I can definitely send you at least the files to listen to. It's pretty great, dude. He sounds so good, and his dialogue is top notch. He kicks ass. He kicks so much ass. He's so great. And literally, I tried to do the same thing with Gord. I tried to have Pile Driver do the same thing, do a Pile Driver cover set, but he had some. I don't think I could sell him on it. I just kind of hit him up out of the blue and blindsided him. We never met. And I was just like, hey, dude. I was like, this was awesome when we did it with Thor. Would you want to do it? And I couldn't sell him on it. It would have been really great. I love Metal Inquisition. Just rules so much.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, A389 working with Thor, how all of that came about. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, well, when we were kids, the same, group of friends that would go into the city every week to buy records, we were, we all loved Thor, and we saw that he was playing like some strange dive bar on the east side. It was like in a part of town that was called Scarborough, just outside of Toronto, which is where we grew up. We grew up in another part of that was called Malton, which was like a suburb. On the other side, like it was on the west side, like literally where the airport was. You could walk from my parents' house to the airport. That's like it was like a weird airport town that time forgot. But so yeah. Anyway, case in point, Thor was playing in Scarborough, and a bunch of us went out, and it was like the strangest show ever. It was just like them playing in like this bar. They had no business hosting rock shows. It was like almost like a weird like mob club. It was just like strange older dudes in suits hanging out. It was like no real fans there. It was just like a handful of fans knew about the show. It wasn't really promoted. It was just a very strange coincidence that we happened to stumble upon that. But he was the coolest dude. He like just spent the entire night hanging out with us, answering our questions and joking around and just being awesome. So we just kept in touch from there. He did some guest vocals on one of my joke band demos. We always were doing joke bands and we're always recording stuff. We were always, just constantly recording and making cool projects and stuff. And yeah, he was always very receptive to like just doing fun stuff. And we had kept in touch ever since. He's a really cool dude. I try to keep up with him at least once a year and see how he's doing.
Right on. Hopefully you'll be able to work with him again.
I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do like a concept album, like for Thor, like a total like metal odyssey. It was like it would just be cool. I think if the stars ever align, with kids, it's so hard to find the time. Like I said, even this Integrity record took like years to finish. It's just so hard to do to find the time to do it. But I would love to work with Thor and write something for him that would just be my. I kind of with this Integrity record, I set out to make an Integrity record that I wanted. Because it would be too easy to just repeat past victories. I didn't want to, no pun intended with the victory thing. That was just a clever coincidence. But, I didn't want to recapture the past. I was like, it's obviously a big part of the sound and I nod to it because it's essential. But, I tried to take it to in my own, what I wanted this record to sound like. And I think if I given the opportunity, I would love to do the same thing with Thor someday. That'd be really cool. Just make it sick, like Metal Odyssey.
Right on. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
You've been with Integrity now since 2014, and obviously this record is obviously like the biggest highlight, I'm sure, so far. But leading up to it, can you maybe share some of your highlights that you've enjoyed so far? I imagine you've been out there.
Yeah, we just did a tour in Europe, which was great. We actually have done a few shows this year. We did like a 10-day tour in Europe, which culminated at Hellfest, and that was a blast. That was, I've seen so many different versions of Integrity through the years. And like I said, it's always been a band I followed closely, and it was just so much fun to be like, to have this lineup like running like clockwork and playing so well every night, and just doing the song. It was just doing the songs justice. It was so much fun to play like cool songs, like all my favorites pretty much. He lets me pick just something that he doesn't feel like playing. He's like, I don't know, but for the most part, he's pretty agreeable. And the set lists were fun. Everyone was pretty happy with how the band sounded. It was a really great response. And then it was really wild. I got like this insane blister the day of Hellfest, which was like the biggest show of the tour. And I woke up, I don't know how it happened, honestly, because I played like fine every single night. And that day I woke up with this blister that was like, I was like, this is weird that it would come. So I went to we were at Hellfest super early. We had driven all night. And I went to the first aid tent to get something sterilized so I can pop it. And I got a safety pin. They sterilized it, and I drained it out, wrapped it up in a bandage, put some like stuff on it. I'm like, okay, cool. We won't play till tonight. This should be fine. And an hour before we played, I take the bandage off, and my finger's blue, and it's twice the size. It's the size of like 2 digits. Yeah. And this is about to play the biggest fest of the tour. Probably the biggest show I've ever played in my entire life. And it was just I was like, so I didn't know what to do. And I was like, so, luckily our other guitar player who plays live with us, Tony, is a great guitar player as well. He played in Palinki's with me when Palinki's started. And I was like, dude, you're going to have to play, live. I usually play the solos for the most part, but I'm like, you're going to have to play most of the solos. I can't do it. I don't have a middle finger right now. It's as big as 2 fingers. And so that given, it was, we pulled it off fine. It was great. It was a little, if you're a to the moment listener where every solo tit for tat, I tried to play the more iconic ones that I could still play where they're just like the record, but anything else, Tony just improvised, and we totally pulled it off. Thankfully, I had this giant bandaged finger the entire time. If anyone watched the Hellfest video, it's just insane. It's like a giant, my middle finger is up the entire time. It was crazy. And we pulled that off, but it was great. And we had done Roadburn in England. That was everything. It's always it's all like all my best friends are in the band. So it's a lot of fun. And I love the music and I love the dudes. So just anything, even if we're just hanging out, eating food, is always a good time. It's
right.
It's not like a younger thing where you have aspirations that may be unrealistic or everyone's got some sort of fantasy. Everyone here has like jobs. Some of us have families. So it's very like, this is like it's our time to get creative and at the same time hang out and have a good time. So we get to exercise creative demons and at the same time just hang out, have a good time together. So yeah, just all of it's been a blast. I'm looking forward to what's next.
Right on. And you know what? There's just something so rock and roll about having an extra large middle finger. That's
it was pretty wild, dude. And then I had to go to the doctor when I came home, and they treated it. It was a staph infection. It was like super gross. They had to drain it, and so pretty much I had my middle finger bandaged up, and I was at my day job, and pretty much anytime someone would come in and ask something, I'm just giving them this finger the entire time, right? It was like,
there we go.
And that was about a month ago, and I'm finally getting back into it because all the skin had to peel off and heal. When the doctor told me I wouldn't play guitar for a month, I was like, whatever, this shouldn't take that long. And it literally was like I haven't touched a guitar in a month because I haven't been able to move that finger or use it. And it's finally healed. We're actually recording demos tonight for whatever. We even with this last LP, we just stockpile a bunch of demos before going in. We just write a ton of songs and pick the best. And so yeah, we have a writing session tonight. Me and Joshy, our drummer, are going to start working on new stuff. And yeah, my finger's back. I'm so excited to be able to play again.
Right on. Excellent. Our longtime listeners would actually, if they might be hearing your name the first time with this interview, they're definitely going to be familiar with some of your past. We've already spoken about A389 Records, mm-hmm. the label in which you're running, and we've played a whole whack of their stuff. And we've had I Hate God on the show. We've had Iron Reagan. We've had Noisem has been on the show, and our buddies, awesome. yeah, and we've had, of course, Adam Dyson from Withdrawal from Winnipeg up here, good buddy of mine as well. How is your activity with Integrity? Because I imagine outside of job and family, this is going to be pretty consuming.
It's kind of taken the front seat. It's definitely taken the front seat. If anyone's followed A389 in the past, say, a few years, 3 years or whatever, you'll notice most of the bands have migrated to Relapse. Mm-hmm. And that was a totally an intentional move. I was just like, I just couldn't do it. I was like, I could put your record out, but I can't do much more than that. I used to be really involved in every aspect of promoting it, booking tours, literally everything that you could think of. I had my hand in it. But, mm-hmm. as life needed me more in other areas, I just couldn't do it. And Relapse has, a staff of multiple people doing a job that one dude in a storage locker. And Alex, I can't not mention Superior Alex, who helps me run the label. But, 2 guys in a storage locker in Baltimore City just mailing out records is not going to help bands go where they needed to go. So luckily, anyone that had serious touring or serious releases ended up going to Relapse, and anything that was just low key and wasn't going to require a lot of touring or was like a reissue is stuff that I kept on deck, stuff that I could just get to when I get to. Like there's a Pulling Teeth and Martyr Immortal remix reissue, like a 10th anniversary reissue that's coming up because we're playing a reunion show at This Is Hardcore Fest, actually in 2 weeks. And yeah, that's pretty exciting too. And yeah, like something like that back in the day would have taken me a week to organize and I wouldn't think about it again. And now to find the time to do everything took me like months and months. And I just couldn't do bands a disservice like that. I'd be cutting them short by working with them. So I helped everybody find like a better home. And, it's the same home Integrity's on. So I'm still there and I'm still, able to see how well they're being treated. And they are. It's just great. It's just like the whole kind of A389 family kind of migrated for the most part. And, still a few things, like I think A389 is definitely more of just a hobby label now. It's like we'll keep the stuff in print, like Nothing, Iron Reagan, Full of Hell, all the bands that that require to stay in print. But now it's just more of a hobby. It's like if we think of a random record or a side project to do that's going to be very small and I can handle doing it, then I'll do it. Maybe one day it'll return to its former glory. But it's the whole reason I started it and got super into it was because I had kids. And I couldn't be in a band anymore. So now that the tides have turned and I can be in a band again, being in a band has always been my first choice of involvement. So this is kind of a return, if you will.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely stoked for everything that you're doing with Integrity. And you got to get up here to Canada. You got to cross Canada.
Yeah, it would be great. We can't tour, unfortunately, because everyone's got, like I said, kids and jobs. But there's definitely some talks for some stuff next year that will be popping up here and there. So okay. You might get your wish. Who knows?
Right on. Okay, and that'll lead me into my final question: the next 365 days for Integrity, especially with this record. Just what's going on?
Well, we have announced the East Coast Tsunami Festival, which is taking place in Reading, Pennsylvania, on September 23rd. And there's another show that's going to be announced that's not in the U.S. That's going to be announced soon. I can't announce it yet, but
okay,
it'll be pretty cool. It's a really cool show. I'm excited about it. And then we're going to Japan in the first week of October. And from there, we're just like I had mentioned earlier, when we did the album, we had way more songs than we needed. And now we never really stopped writing stuff. So we're kind of like, now we're just going through that and writing so we can start cherry picking stuff. Cause it took 2 years to get this record done from writing to release. So, we don't want to make it where it's going to be like a 5-year gap before another thing comes out. So we're just like stockpiling a bunch of stuff. So in the next year, you'll see sporadic shows. And you may see another release in the form of a split or an EP or something. Maybe not, but there's definitely be stuff in the can that's being written. Just when it's released is a question that can't be answered at the moment.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah, more music, and a few shows. I guess it's not the long short of it.
Excellent. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm sorry that we didn't get you on much sooner with everything that you've done in the past, but you're here now.
Oh, no problem.
We really appreciate it. And yeah,
it's really exciting. It too. Thanks, Snowy. It was good talking to you.
We hope you enjoyed Snowy's chat with Domenic Romeo of Integrity. Stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interviews. Until next time, In the meantime and the in-between time, keep the horns up and stay metal.
Visit us at radioactivemetal.org or go to iTunes for past episodes and write a review. Listen to us live every Thursday night on purerockradio.net. You can also listen to us on Stitcher.com, TuneIn.com, Google Play, and all the other podcast aggregators. You can purchase the music featured in this episode by going to radioactivemetal.org and clicking on the episode link. Leave us a voicemail. We want to hear from you. Call 321-80-HEAVY or 321-804-3289. We may even play it on the show. Email us at radmetal666@gmail.com with suggestions or for indie spotlight submissions. Follow us at facebook.com/radmetal, twitter.com/radmetal666, and instagram.com/radioactivemetal. This has been a presentation of Radioactive Metal. It's not metal unless it's radioactive metal.